Hello everybody. Today is a glorious autumnal day and I have the day off, and so I thought it would be interesting to show you what a day off when I have time to invest in different creative projects looks like for me. It is currently Monday, October 21st, and usually I'd be working on a Monday. I work in publishing and in France, if you don't know me, if this is your first ever video. Usually I'd be working on a Monday, but I recently was abroad for work, traveling abroad, and therefore because I worked overtime and then there was the travel time and I got home late on Friday evening around midnight, I sometimes get time off to recuperate after that. And so that's what today is. And I have the house to myself, I have the day to myself, ooh, and it's a beautiful day. We've had rain basically the last 6 weeks. And so this week, today is the first day of sunlight. So I'd like to get out of the house as well. So I have a few projects I'd like to make. For example, I'm working on a cardigan that I want to make. I'm working on the pattern now, and then I'm going to cut it out and make it. Probably not all today, but I'm going to work on it. I think that'll be really cozy and lovely for the fall. And then I'd like to try and make some apple cider. So I found a recipe. If you don't know, apple cider is very different in France. It's bubbly and somewhat alcoholic, and it's not spicy. There's no cinnamon or cloves or anything in it. And I come from New England. I grew up in Connecticut and New England, and apple picking and apples and apple season, apple cider donuts and apple cider, it's big in New England and I miss it a lot. French apple cider is not the same. I've tried making it once before last year, but I used too many cloves and it came out too spicy and too strong and just not very good. And so I found another recipe today and I'd like to try and make that. So we'll see how that goes. And then I'd like to go for a walk this afternoon. It's currently late morning. I spent the morning just sort of tidying up because this weekend I was just dead to the world, just recuperating from traveling abroad and just really stressful sort of, or very active work abroad. And so yeah, but before I go to the grocery store to pick up some apples, I wanted to do a little bit of yoga because my back has been feeling really tight in the past few weeks. I think that with this season, I have a lot of work. In the fall, it gets really intense in the fall, and then we have back to school season with, you know, just busier times, busier public transportation, and then the end of the year holidays that are coming up and that we're organizing already. And so it just, all this stress sort of accumulates in my back. So I'm gonna do some yoga now, but then yeah, we're gonna go to the grocery store, get some apples, put the apple cider on to make, and then I also have a little bit of knitting and maybe a little bit of embroidery that I wanted to work on today. So we'll see. We'll see. I have a book that I'm reading too, but we'll see. We'll get to that. And yeah, so let me get started on this day. Okay, so that yoga session really helped my back. It feels much looser now. So I'm going to go head out to the grocery store. It's getting kind of gray out. I hope it doesn't rain. But I'm wearing my newest Helen's Closet Elliot sweater that I wasn't planning on making, but that I made out of scraps of this light blue double knit fabric. And it's just so lovely and soft. But I will show you that in more detail in a future video when I show you my fall makes. But yeah, let me get going, get some apples, and get that apple cider started. Okay, so I'm back from the store. I got my apples, but also some flowers because they're on sale. And it's fall and chrysanthemums are perfect. So I'll be putting those in the garden in a minute. But yeah, I've got the recipe together. I've got my orange, I've got my apples. These are, I think, Jonagold. Let me check. Yeah, Jonagold apples. It says that they are for tarts, so I'm assuming that they're not too sugary and not too tart. I'm still not very familiar, even after 15 years in France, with the differences between the varieties of apples here versus in the northeast of the United States. But I'm starting to get an idea, and I think these will be fine. The recipe does suggest using a mix of different kinds of apples, but they didn't have that available, and therefore I just have these. But I'll link the recipe below if you'd like to follow that as well. So I have an orange that I'll be putting in. I've got cinnamon sticks. I'll be using brown sugar. This is Muscovado sugar, and this is the most like brown sugar that I've found in France so far. And then cloves. Ground cloves, which I will not be putting too much in this time, and now I'm ready. Ooh, and also I don't have a slow cooker, so I'll be simmering it in this one, and hopefully that'll be just fine. Alright, that was fairly simple. I put it on the burner to boil, and then once it boils, I'll have it simmer for 2 hours, and then mash it, and then let it simmer for another hour, and so that'll take a little while. In the meantime, I'm going to have lunch, and I will meet you after lunch. I'm just going to heat up some leftover chili from last night, and probably zone out a little bit and relax, and then yeah, maybe work on some kind of sewing project. It looks like it might rain, so I might not go for a walk later, but we'll see. Alright, so it looks like the apples are simmering pretty well. And so I'm going to leave those for another hour or so. And in the meantime, I've just finished lunch, so I'm going to have some coffee and maybe take it outside because it's not raining. It's not very sunny out, but it's not raining. So I'm going to take it outside because it's weirdly warm today. It's like 68 degrees outside, which is strange for mid-October. But I won't worry about that right now. I'll take my coffee outside and do some knitting. So here, I didn't realize that my microphone wasn't on, and what I'm trying to say is that I'm currently knitting the Kip sweater by Rebecca Clow in this Durverum Natura Ulysse yarn in the Poivre Sel colorway, and that it's going well. I love the herringbone texture of this pattern, and even though I keep messing up and having to rip it back, I'm enjoying making this one. Okay, so the apple cider needs another half an hour simmering on the stove top before I can smash it down and then let it simmer for a final hour. So before I go on my walk, because I think it can simmer while I go for a walk, I don't think it'll boil over. Anyway, while I wait for that, I wanted to work on a pattern. I'm currently working on the Seamwork Milo cardigan that I introduced in my fall plans video. And the way I like to work with patterns is I like to use PDF patterns because then I can print it out and pick which size I want. I trace the size, I cut it out, and then I trace it again on this kind of paper because I find it easier to work with on the fabric. And also that means if I make a mistake and I end up needing another size or to grade it differently, I can go back to the original pattern and do that rather than printing it out again or having to buy it again if it's not PDF. And so I am currently tracing out that pattern. I'm going to make it with this really, really beautiful sweater fabric. This is mostly viscose. It's super stretchy. It's got like a rib knit to it, if you can see that. It's in this grayish color, so like a beige gray. And I know that originally I said that I wanted to make a Seamwork Margot skirt out of this one because it reminded me of a Suzanne skirt that I saw. But I think that after some thought, it's a really clingy, drapey fabric, and I'm starting to realize that I don't really like very clingy bottoms on me. In skirts especially, I feel sort of exposed, and I don't like having to worry about panty lines in the wintertime. And yeah, I don't like things that are see-through in that way. Not see-through actually, but see-through in that it shows everything that's underneath the fabric. And so I'm going to make a cardigan out of this, just a cardigan, and then if I have enough left, I'm thinking of making another Helen's Closet Elliot sweater like this one, just because I've already made 3 this season and I love this sweater. It's just so cozy, especially with really cozy fabrics. It's all I want to wear. And I think that this color would be really useful to have as a sweater as well. And so yeah, I'm going to cut it out and try and keep it to as little scraps as possible so I can get a second thing out of it. And that's what I'm doing now. Okay, so I have just smashed down the apple cider. It's all in bits now, and it's gonna need to simmer for another hour. Then I can strain it and taste it. And so while it's simmering, it's now 4:30, a little after 4:30. I was thinking of going for a walk. This is something more aspirational than something that I usually do on days when I'm just puttering around the house being creative and relaxing. Yeah, I typically don't do this, but this is something that I've been thinking of doing more often. I don't really want to, but if I want to go, I have to go now because it's gonna start getting dark in about an hour. So yeah, I'm gonna go for about 45 minutes, get back before the timer goes off, before it's finished, so that I don't boil it all away. And then I'll have some apple cider, hopefully good, as a reward. So I just got home. I just had just enough time to change because I was very warm after 40 minutes and just before the timer went off. So now I can sieve out all the bits of apple and orange and cinnamon out of the apple cider and taste it. I'm really excited, but before I do that, let me show you what I'm wearing because I changed an ultimate time for ultimate comfort at this end of day hour. I'm wearing a silver 80 top in this really lovely cotton that I love. It's not dirty. These are rhubarb juice stains because I made a rhubarb and strawberry pie 2 years ago and I didn't realize that rhubarb was impossible to get out of clothes. And then I'm wearing it with these Helen's Closet Avery leggings for ultimate comfort. So yeah, let me finish the apple cider and taste it. And then I think I have some time to get a little bit more sewing done before my husband gets home when we have dinner. So I will get to that. So I'm happy to say that this is a success. It's not as sugary as what you would typically buy in a grocery store in the US, and I actually kind of like it better that way. And yeah, it's exactly what I was hoping for. Especially I love apple cider when it's hot and super cold, and so yeah, now it's fresh and warm and oh, it's really good. It took a lot longer to make than I thought it would. It's now about 6 o'clock at night, but totally worth it, so yeah. And so as I sip on my homemade apple cider, even though it's a bit sticky, I think I will end the vlog here because it's getting very dark out. My husband will be home soon and we'll eat dinner soon, and I probably won't get too much sewing anymore. I'm pretty tired and all I want to do is curl up on the couch and read a book. And that won't be very riveting content, so I think I'll leave it here. I do think that I had a little bit too ambitious of a plan today to sew and embroider and knit and make apple cider and go for a walk. And that's something that I'm working on, is figuring out how to balance the motivation I have with what I can actually get done in a day and to appreciate what I can get done and what I'm doing, because this is a day off and these are activities that are supposed to be fun. And so yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I was able to do on this day off. I wanted to try this apple cider recipe and I will definitely make this one again. I'll link it below in the description if you'd like to try it too. And I wanted to get outside because the weather is just beautiful at the moment, and I don't think it'll last. And I was able to do that twice, knitting in the garden and then also going for a walk. And so yeah, I'm glad that I got those two priorities done. I'm happy with what I was able to get done today. And so yeah, I think I'll leave it here. Don't hesitate to check out the description below. I will link below all of the patterns of the clothes that I'm wearing in this video because I changed a few times. And also the recipe, and don't hesitate to like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this video and if you'd like to not miss any new ones from me. Let me know what your favorite things are to do, if it's a recipe or an activity that you like to do when you're appreciating the fall season and you have some time. I'd love to hear back from you in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and I will be back very soon with a new video. Take care and bye-bye.